Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. What is up, everybody? We're live on a Friday once again.
So much better than live on a Wednesday.
Isn't it? So much better. So welcome again. Kiss Meets the Podcast. Crazy Kiss Countdown. You wanted the best. I'm one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
And I'm all hyped from that intro, man. Woo!
Savannah's not with us again. She had cabin fever this week, and so she's become one of those wild people.
Yeah. I'm going to have to catch her after the show's over. Running around in a loincloth.
Tranquilizer dart. I guess that song was kind of fitting then at the same time. She's the bomb man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course had to change up the intro for this episode to pay a little, homage to the great Eddie Van Halen. Once again, it feels like we're doing this way too often recently, but again, just horrible, crushing news that kind of caught everybody off guard this, just a few days ago. We kind of all had a hunch that, something was going on with him, but they never really officially came out and said, and kind of similar again to the Neil Peart situation. It just kind of happened out of the blue and, totally unexpected once again. And, I got to say, I mean, as much as, Neil Peart hit me, this one, I got to say, kind of hits me a little bit harder because, I was definitely a Van Halen fan much longer than I was a Rush fan. I was a Van Halen fan literally since I was a little kid. As I've said 100 times, they're one of the bands I grew up playing drums to. I've told the story about MTV, and I posted it on my Facebook page, and so I was definitely always a bigger fan of Van Halen from the get-go. So this one definitely had a major gut punch for me. It's still hard to believe. I feel like I still haven't fully processed it completely. It's almost like, I don't know. I don't think it's really truly hit me completely yet. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that's I can definitely get behind that idea that it hasn't quite processed, because such an amazing innovator, you know what I mean? I think I was telling a guy at work today that maybe this might have been the biggest death in guitar in a long time. I'm tempted to say Dimebag. At work, I actually said since Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
Because it's just, people who don't even know who Eddie Van Halen is, if somebody says, name 5 rock guitarists, Eddie Van Halen's going to be one of those. Everybody knows him, whether they're familiar with the work or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he changed the game. He just completely changed the game. And to think that he's just gone now. We'll never get new Van Halen music, which I really figured we would. I thought that maybe in the next couple of years we'd start seeing something about a new album, and man, that sucks.
Yeah, it seemed like there was even rumors about that in recent years that they may have possibly been working on something new, and maybe even another tour for that matter. And I was, really hoping to be able to get another chance to see him. And, it's just one of those things. It's like, and again, like you mentioned, Randy Rhoads and those guys, it's like, I obviously don't want to take anything away from Randy Rhoads, Dimebag, Stevie Ray Vaughan, guys like that. But I feel like this is kind of the biggest blow to the guitar world than, I'd say Hendrix. I'd say it's along those levels.
Absolutely.
Eddie was, it's a fairly arguable case, but in my opinion, best guitar player ever. And again, I'm a huge Randy Rhoads fan, Dwayne Allman, a lot of these guys, but Eddie just, since I was a little kid, just something about him and his playing and, Alex and the drumming, their music just caught me just like Kiss. And I was just as big of a fan of them as, almost as big as I am a Kiss fan, like that's how big of a Van Halen fan I was and still am. But, yeah, just and then, he's just one of those figures, because since you pretty much grew up with the guy and, we all know, unfortunately, that, everyone's time's coming, but, some of these figures, you just kind of get that, you feel like they're, immortal and, like they're always going to be around, and, especially for 65 years old, that's, still entirely too young. Again, the guy should have, lived at least another good 20 years or so, if not longer, and just one of them horrible situations again. And again, cancer related. Cancer sucks. I hate it. Yeah, it's definitely hits home in my family, and it's just a horrible thing. And apparently, from what I understood, it kind of took a real bad turn for the worse for Eddie in the last days and weeks. I guess it had spread pretty much all over. So I think Eddie at that point was probably just like, hey, it is what it is, because it obviously doesn't sound like he wanted any more help, or if there was any help that would have done anything. I think he just pretty much at this point said, let it do its thing, for it to spread like that. Thankfully, Sammy Hagar came out and spoke recently and said that they had actually, pretty much made amends earlier this year. They had been texting each other, and they both decided they wanted to keep it secret because, of course, it was going to rile up a bunch of reunion rumors and stuff, and they knew that wasn't going to happen, so they didn't want to put it out there. And then, he made the statement that, within like a couple months ago, he stopped responding. So he just had this feeling that, something was wrong and it was getting bad. And then he said he had tried one last time, like the week or so before. And he said at that point, he knew it was probably just a matter of time. And, sucks.
Yeah.
But, it's cool to see all the, all the tributes to Eddie. I've seen people posting like billboards that have, some really cool graphics, all kinds of stuff like that. So, sure enough, there's going to be, plenty of Eddie stuff to come. And, I hate to say, because a lot of times it usually, it's not until these kind of people pass, but maybe we'll get some kind of official documentary now that has some unseen footage, and it's that kind of crap again. And stuff that they never really put out there when he was still around. And they didn't put much out as far as live DVDs. They only had a couple, and it's been years since they put one of those out. And I know they put out their live album recently a few years ago, but kind of wish they would have put a DVD out to go with that.
Definitely.
So, yeah, it's weird. I, immediately, turned on some Van Halen in the car that day and been kind of listening to it ever since. And, and honestly, at the same time, it's like, I don't know why, but it's weird. Like, I just almost didn't feel like listening to music after that day. Like there was just something about it. I was just like, man, I don't feel like listening to anything else. Like nothing sounds right to listen to right now at this point. It's weird. It was just a weird feeling. But again, thanks to Kiss as always. They, especially listening to this album today to prep, and a couple video clips that I would stumble across on YouTube. It still does the job, man. It made me feel a little bit better. Kind of listening and watching some Kiss, and they've always helped me through some tough times, and they definitely did it again this time. So I'm sure there's tons more that could be said, and we could make a whole nother show ourselves all about Eddie if we really wanted. I know our buddies over there, Fans in Motion, they did a special episode on Eddie the other day, so check that out if you haven't seen it. I'm sure Kiss and Tail, they'll be talking about it. But yeah, I mean, it's still so fresh, and we're just a few days removed from the news, and it's just it's pretty sad situation. It's definitely one of them cases where it's like, what's it going to be like when the day comes that you hear this person is dead, and unfortunately this is one of them that was on my list, and
Sam and I had a whole conversation about that a couple of days ago after we had finished writing. It was just yesterday, actually, how that was kind of the big takeaway for both of us from this, was just the reminder that because of our age, that unless something happens to one of us and we die young, we're going to see all these people die. And what a horrifying thought that is. Strange to think of a world without any member of Kiss. It's already strange enough that Eric Carr is not still with us, Mark St. John, but what about Peter or Ace or Gene or Paul? We're going to see that happen. That's insane.
And that's what worries me, because I mean, as hard as I take Neil Peart and Eddie Van Halen, I mean, I dread that day that one of those original 4 members of Kiss, and I don't know, man. I got a feeling it's going to hit me way different and way harder. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I try to keep that smile on my face, at least about Gene and Paul, because it's like you look at these guys, they're still going. I mean, it's like, I hate to say, but that's kind of the key to staying clean like these guys did, and abusing drugs and alcohol and everything else, and smoking. And I mean, just look at the stats. I mean, it shows you right there. So, I hate to sound, like I'm preaching about drugs and smoking and whatever, but I mean, that's the way I kind of looked at it. It's like these guys are thankfully in still pretty good condition because of staying clean, and can't really say that about Peter and Ace, but thank God they're still doing okay. Ace has been sober, but Peter had a breast cancer scare at one point, so I mean, we've already kind of had them little scares with these guys here and there, but
right.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I'm looking forward to. So
no.
Yeah, so rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. Our thoughts and condolences are with Alex and Wolfgang and Janie and Valerie. The whole family, the bandmates, all, everybody, all the fans, friends. He was a living legend. Now he's going to be he's a true rock god now, for real, and he's gonna live on just like Hendrix has all these years. It's going to be the same thing. You're never gonna not hear about Eddie Van Halen. He's definitely going to live on. That's for sure. And then then it's weird because I always go back to Dimebag, and everyone knows that story of Eddie putting his guitar from Van Halen 2 in Dime's casket, and it's like now here he is gone, and what it's just weird. You really hope that there really is something that where these guys are going to meet up in the afterlife or something. You know, you really hope for things like that in these kind of scenarios. You know, Diamond Vinny's last words to each other were Van Halen. I mean, that's how much that band meant to them too. So it's just, it'll live on. Another great band that's unfortunately gone, based on someone dying. And the music will live in different ways. I know Sammy plays some of the music with his band, and David Lee Ross out there playing the music solo on the Kiss tour whenever that kicks back up. All that kind of stuff. But it definitely won't be the same, but it'll still be, it'll just be kind of the nice way to remember things, I guess.
Yeah.
So, again, we could go on and on about this, but I really don't want to, definitely we have a Kiss show to do. I don't want to be down in the dumps the whole time. Let's, we did this before, with the Neil Peart thing and everything else that's recently happened. We got to talk about it, but business is at hand as usual. So let's get moving. So this week, of course, we are doing a live 2. And please do not forget, we are not counting the 5 songs on side 4 for this review. It's strictly just the live version or the live songs. Again, as a reminder, probably at the end of the discography, we're going to make our own. It'll be kind of a fantasy album of all these, extra songs that's come off of different, compilations and whatnot. And we're going to lump them as like its own album. So if you did forget and you rank these 5 songs on this, that's fine. We'll try to work a way around it to, not count those in yet. But just a reminder there. So I don't think there's any Kiss news going on, anything more positive to talk about. But I guess we'll just kind of get into our polls and comments and everything.
Indeed. A few comments on the last episode, all from our good buddy Thomas, Rain in Adamstown. The first one, he says, press conference at the Kiss Cruise with Ace. Ace, what's your favorite makeup? Ace then responds, I like the Onk makeup I wore on the Creatures of the Night tour. My pink guitar looked great. I still think my solos on that album were my best of all time. Nice. He also says, cool to see your cover stuff. That's good. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. We had a blast with that last week, man. We definitely had a good time on last week's show. Ending it with a blast. And then, unfortunately, to have such a downer to start this week.
Right, yes. Let's see. Thomas also says, the next thing you do is a contest in which you have always to choose the worst song in the matches, right? Go for it. He says, Love Gun is a very good album, maybe the best produced of the 70s, or let's say the most professional, but I think there are songs on it that are not that good. It has much more in common with Dynasty than with the other 70s albums. I will never understand why some people love Love Gun, but the same people hate Dynasty. Both albums are very commercial, clean produced, and extremely mainstream market oriented. True confession, Love Gun is the sister album of Dynasty.
Or is Dynasty the sister album of Love Gun?
Oh.
Since it came first.
Which is more redheaded?
I'm guilty. Like I said, for a lot of years, I was one of those people. I loved Love Gun, but wasn't a big fan of Dynasty as a whole. But thankfully, that has changed. So I am definitely on that love train for Dynasty now.
Yeah. I think we probably talked about this last week. I still would say, to me personally, Dynasty is the best produced. I feel like the production of Love Gun is closer to Rock and Roll Over, really. But,
Definitely. They still hold up, though.
Yeah. They do, absolutely. Yep. And I mean, come on, all the songs on Love Gun are good, except, I mean, really except all of them except Then She Kissed Me is the only good song on there. I guess we really get down to it is Then She Kissed Me. But all the other songs are pretty terrible. But you know. All right, so over to our polls for this week. So this is the negative episode. What do you want? um, so we're a good way into round 3 already. So get over in that if you haven't already on Facebook, our Kiss Meets the Podcast group. If you request to join, you will be granted access immediately and without question. So go do it. And in there, you will find our big ol' every single Kiss song tournament that we are doing right now. We are on round 3. We're down to 66 songs now, 33 matches this round. Last week, we posted 6 of the matches, and those were Charisma versus Shout It Out Loud. I don't think it'll be too hard to guess here. Shout It Out Loud takes that one with 62% of the vote.
Yeah, I figured.
Mm-hmm. We also had Watching You versus Deuce. Of course, I would say it's fair to say Deuce took it. However, 71%. I expected it to be a little closer than that. The real kick in the balls from last week, I Love It Loud versus Rock and Roll All Night. And I Love It Loud takes it with 63%.
Holy shit.
Yeah, who saw that one coming?
Wow. Well, like I said last week, on paper, you would think Rock and Roll All Night would be the winner, but, the whole entire thing. But
yeah,
this is going to get good now. Well, like it even better. Let me say it that way.
yeah. Oh, the matchups on round 4 are already insane.
Yes.
We also posted Psycho Circus versus A Million to One. Psycho Circus takes this one with 52%, just barely scraping by. A 1 vote difference. Savannah will be very upset to hear. So A Million to One does have a pretty good chance of getting back in our second chance round, which we will do at the end of round 3. We'll need another one of those. We also posted Saint and Sinner versus Heavens on Fire. Heavens on Fire takes it with 57%. So again, just barely scraping by.
Damn.
Yeah. And finally, Baby Driver versus I Stole Your Love. This one was no contest, even a little bit. I Stole Your Love wins with 96% of the vote. 1 single vote on Baby Driver from Aaron Philpott. So, cheers for making it not 0%. I do very much appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Aaron.
Yes. So the 6 that you can go vote on right now, if you head over to Facebook and the Kiss Meets the Podcast group, you can search that, and you do have to request access. But like I said, we will immediately get you in there so that you can get your votes in. We won't. So please, if you haven't already, freaking create a Facebook if you have to. Do it. All right. The 6 you can go vote on. Yes, the 6 you can go vote on right now are More Kicks in the Pants, Making Love versus Love Her All I Can. And if your testicles didn't hurt enough, Detroit Rock City versus Black Diamond. Yeah. Do You Love Me versus Come On and Love Me. And the rest aren't so bad. Thou Shalt Not versus Hooligan. I Confess versus Sure Know Something. And Christine 16 versus Sweet Pain. So some real nasty ones in there. Good luck, everybody. Good luck with that.
God, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a thumbs down already. Awesome. Thank you, whoever that was.
Hey.
Much appreciated.
Yes. So next week we'll be posting 6 more, of course, and the following week there will only be 3 posted because that is the end of round 3, and the week after that will only be the second chance round before we start round 4, where one of our losers will have a chance to come back. I think usually we post 6 songs in a single poll and take the votes there to see which one comes back. Got some pretty strong contenders already. For example, I happen to know God of Thunder is right at the top of the list for potential comebacks. I think it had 49% of its vote. So
I would say that and Rock and Roll All Night would have to be at the top of the list.
right, and surprisingly, because Rock and Roll All Night lost so bad, it lost with 38%. It won't. It's not even going to be one of the 6 songs.
Oh, well, forget that then. Wow,
Yeah, how
that is
crazy is
crazy.
that? I never. I didn't think it was going to lose to "I Love It Loud," let alone 62-38. That's
What's up, Javier? We were doing some Eddie Van Halen talk earlier. You might have missed it, but if you want to share a memory or thought about Eddie, man, go ahead and share it.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's see. You ready for album info?
Let's go.
All right. So Alive 2 is, big surprise, the second live album.
No way.
I know. Who would have guessed?
It's
That is
I.
8th overall. Yeah, exactly. I keep forgetting. Alive I is the most egotistical album they ever released it, other than Alive I. This album came out October 14th, 1977. Boy, we're coming up on the anniversary
Wow.
there. Yeah.
What are we talking?
5 days.
43 years. Correct? Uh-oh, can't hear you.
Hello?
Gotcha.
Hey, okay. I don't know why that happens.
Yay, technical errors.
Yay. It's a staple.
Yeah, it's what is it, 43 years?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Crazy that it's been that long since this. So of course, most Kiss fans already know this sort of a thing, but this was produced by Eddie Kramer, who produced both Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun, and of course the first Alive, in addition to Kiss's original demo prior to their first album. They first had the idea for this. Bill Aucoin suggested that they do another live album, actually on the Rock and Roll Over tour when they were in Budokan Hall in Tokyo, and that was going to give them a little bit of time off before they went to go record Love Gun. And they did. They finished. They recorded the album. They finished work on the album. But both the label Casablanca and Kiss decided this is disgusting. We can't put it out, and they just went ahead and did Love Gun instead. So strange. I assume that's probably what you can find on YouTube as the Lost Alive 2. Is that correct?
That's what I'm thinking. I think it's mostly from those Budokan shows.
Yeah. So, of course, instead we ended up with this, which was recorded on the Love Gun tour. Most of this was recorded in LA, right? Yeah, the Forum in Los Angeles. However, 2 songs are sound checked, according to Wikipedia. Tomorrow and Tonight, and what's the other one? I lost it.
Hard Luck Woman.
Yeah. Or no. I'm sorry. Dang it! I just saw this on here, and now it's completely gone. It was one that you wouldn't expect. Beth and I Want You were both from the Japanese live album that they decided not to go with. Oh, according to Wikipedia, it's I Stole Your Love is the other one.
From Soundcheck? Uh-oh. Well, while Lucas froze here, hopefully he'll be right back. Yeah, Javier, I do admit when the Sammy era came about, it did feel like they had a different sound, but I did love a lot of the music they put out with Sammy. I've never been one of those Roth or Van Hagar. I hate that term that people use, Van Hagar. I've just been just like with Kiss, I've just been a Van Halen fan, period, all these years. So I can see what you're saying though. Definitely a different sound. I guess that stuff on the vault. I mean, that stuff we had been wanting to hear for years. I mean, ever since we first heard inklings about that's who he recorded those demos with. We were dying to hear that stuff. So yeah, thankfully we finally got that, and I'm hoping maybe there's some sort of unreleased Van Halen material laying around, which I would almost assume there is. So maybe one day we will get a Van Halen box set. See what's going on with Luke here. Hopefully he'll be right back with us. I think it was last week his computer randomly froze on him and restarted, so hopefully that didn't happen again. But hopefully he'll be right back. So in the meanwhile, while we're waiting on Luke, go ahead. Let's chat some more about some stuff. What would you say your favorite album is from Van Halen, Javier? I know it's a hard choice because it's just like this Kiss stuff. It's kind of hard to say what one is actually your favorite, but did you have kind of a preference? And sorry to anyone else that may be watching and sitting. I don't mean to have all this dead air staring at a camera. We weren't expecting a technical difficulty, of course. So hopefully that's going to get resolved really quick, and he'll be right back with us so we can continue and get get into the album. But let's talk Alive 2 as well. I mean, my God, we all know. How legendary that gatefold is, for the love of God. I mean, so many of us, when we open that gatefold of the album, and that image of the band, yes, it was a stage shot, but still that image just completely took our breath away. So many of us, and some people, that's what got them hooked on Kiss. Some of us, it was just like another continuation of the reason why we love them, and it was just such an iconic image. That's got to be one of the best rock photos ever, in my opinion. Van Halen, excuse me, Van Halen 1, yeah, great album, man. I remember having that on 8-track when I was a little kid, and my dad would yell at me for singing along to Running with the Devil. Women and Children First, close second. Yeah. I'm glad they did a remaster of Women and Children First, because the original mix of that, for some reason, is just kind of a fairly low volume, and that always kind of irked me about that album. I always wanted to sound louder, just like the first album, and some of the other stuff that came out. But yeah, I agree. I would probably say Van Halen 1 is my favorite too. 1984 definitely has a special spot with me, because that's, to be honest, that's probably where I pretty much discovered Van Halen, was that 1984 album. And again, I've told the stories about watching MTV for the Jump video. I had a cassette tape that I just wore out because I played it so much. Looks like Luke's trying to come back in. Yo,
Yo,
he's back.
we'll see how long.
Yeah, I was trying to fill all this dead air by blabbing,
Right.
but oops. Yeah, I was talking a little bit about the Live 2 gatefold and everything, and asked Javier what his favorite Van Halen album was. So anyway,
Nice. Nice.
always wondered why Ace's right arm looked like it was a bad Photoshop job. I never noticed that. Ah, okay. Yeah, I see it now. Was you pretty much done then with the info or what?
Yeah, there's more than I normally say, but I had to close Wikipedia to get my
Mm.
internet browser to come up at all.
But it said that I Stole Your Love was one of the rehearsal recordings.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I really did not think it would have been.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, Robert, sorry, that was my text alert that I've got on my phone.
Yeah.
There are no hedgehogs running around this room, I promise. Although that would be cool.
Yeah, that's a bit disappointing that there aren't, honestly.
Well, let's go ahead and just jump on into the album here. We're definitely not rushing this episode, but we are on a little bit of a time schedule here, so I want to get through this and
Talk as fast as you can. Go quick.
blah, blah, blah. See, now we need Sonic.
Yeah.
All right, Live 2, first track. All right, so obviously the opening track here, Detroit Rock City. Number 4 for me. Again, who could forget? Such a great way to open the album. Although, it is a good show opener, but we all know that they weren't opening the shows with this song. Would have been better to put the song that they did open with on as the opener, but still cool. I could see why they ended up opening with this song pretty much, afterwards because it works so well. The You Wanted the Best, and I always thought that, because at the very end of the record, that We Want Kiss, which is a cool thing to hear going out, but I think they should have kind of threw that in at the beginning too, like hear that We Want Kiss and then You Wanted the Best. Yeah, that would have just added a little bit of extra goosebump moment there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so, and again, I'll probably say this a lot of times, even though I'm going to try not to, but I love Ace's tone on this record. A lot of it has to do with the rings that he's wearing and those little harmonics that he accidentally gets at times, because of that. And so I just love some of the things with that. Paul's vocals sound great on here. Just a really good opener to the album. We're definitely used to it now, but again, at the time, they were definitely opening with something different. But number 4.
Nice. I'm blowing it early. This is number 1 for me. Um, yeah, the energy is just perfect for the opening song on the record, even if this wasn't the opening song of the actual set. I did note here and several places on the album something I think we talked about last time, which is that we're hearing Paul in the background vocals and the lead vocals, even when they overlap, which is, interesting.
That is true, yeah.
But I do really like Paul's vocals in this version. I feel like because they understandably get super bored with playing basically the same songs all the time. Over the years they've added little bits and changed certain melodies and done this and that. And I feel like to me this is the perfect amount. He's adding some extra stuff that's not on the original album, not on the Destroyer version, but he's not going crazy with it like he does now, where things are just completely different. And again, I mean, it's understandable. You perform a song for 40 years, you're not going to want to do it the same way every time. But this,
Right.
I feel like this is a good medium.
And even on the Unmasked tour, he started singing it differently on certain parts, and thankfully that didn't really last much past towards that, because I wasn't personally quite the biggest fan of that, the way he would sing it that way, but it was kind of different and made it kind of unique. So
Yeah.
Next is King of the Nighttime World, number 6 here, and love how they made it transition in the live setting. You know, obviously we didn't have a, you know, it would have been cool if had they had brought out a car and wrecked it across the stage or something, but unfortunately they couldn't do that, and just love, you know, that gong, and then, you know, oh my God, Rochelle, I'm gonna vomit. Anyway, you know, that guitar intro, and I love the dual solo on this version. I think it stands out better than it does on the album version to me, and I like that they revisited as well towards the end, unlike the album as well. So you get to hear that twice, and it's got a nice groove on this live version. It's a little bit, you know, maybe a tad bit faster, and you know, again, the great bass line by Gene in there, especially when the second verse kicks in. So very well done. You know, I'm not gonna pick, you know, one or the other when it comes to this or the album version, because I'd say I like them pretty equal for different reasons, but they definitely both stand out.
Definitely. One second here. I'm going ahead and putting in the votes.
Yeah, sorry guys, we just got Steve and Rochelle's votes, and when I saw Rochelle's number 1, I about vomited. And yeah, it looks like they did include those 5 tracks, but that's okay. We'll, like I say, we'll work around that.
Yep, absolutely. Shouldn't take too much longer here. I'm having trouble finding the songs, as if I didn't just literally hear this album. Shock me, okay. Whoops. Stage room. Okay, and we're still talking about King of the Nighttime World, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Looking at all these other song titles. Yeah, I thought, you know, I really did think the gong was a nice replacement to the car crash if they weren't going to just play the sound effect itself. Which, you know, I totally understand why they wouldn't. That's a lot. Especially back then, you didn't really get stuff like that. It was just what they played, and that was it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, actually, this is my number 2, because it really feels like these two, they go together just like they do on Destroyer. You know, they flow right into each other. They feel like appropriate sister songs, and the double solo is just classic. Because on the album, it's hidden really far back behind the vocals when they come back to it. You know, of course, Ace's solo is still the same, but in here they don't sing over it. They both Ace and Paul play both parts, which is cool. And then leading into that ending, so much better than a fade out. It's one of my favorite Kiss endings, honestly.
Yes. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, so cool, man. Javier asked an interesting question. Had they done a full double live album, what songs would we have liked added? Well, mainly for me, Take Me and Do You Love Me would have stayed on there. Yeah. And maybe Hooligan. But if I were to replace Hooligan, I would probably say maybe Baby Driver instead of Hooligan. It had, you know, say it had to be another Peter track. And then other than that, I would say Mr. Speed and Almost Human. That would have been cool.
That's you stole my list because that is exactly what I was thinking.
I stole your list.
Yeah. Yep. I was sitting here just in my head going almost human. At least he hasn't said that one. Almost human. And then yeah, I like legitimately wouldn't have minded some of the first three. Yeah, they still had plenty of songs that weren't on Alive from the first three albums that they could have put on
Yeah,
there, and I wouldn't
that
be
is
mad.
true. That is true. Hmm. But then it kind of makes you wonder too, like could they have made Alive a little bit longer of an album at the same time too? Could they have added a few songs and still made it work?
Yeah, yeah. Like they could
Hmm.
have done "Kissin' Time" like 7 times in a row. That would have worked really well, I think.
Just one whole side is one big jam version of Kissin' Time. Like the Allman Brothers, like 23-minute version of Whip and Post, like it's a 23-minute version of Kissin' Time. Just
Oh, so
they
good.
name every city in the world, in the country, and
Oh god, that would be amazing. I don't even care about the rest of the show now. I just want to hear that.
and then they do it. Then they do it with the symphony on Alive 4.
Yes.
Hmm. Where are we? Okay, next up is Ladies' Room. So just as a reminder here, we're working with 15 tracks this time.
Right.
So this is number 10 for me. I like this version. It's a good translation. It does feel like it has a little bit more I don't know, attitude than maybe the studio version, but there is something about the studio version that I feel like this does kind of lack a little bit, but it's not as bad as some other ones that are coming down, later in this album. But and again, it's a good translation, but it's pretty solid, straight through play of it. They don't really add anything, different or anything. So, just pretty good. Plenty of cowbell in there too. So
Huh?
there you are.
Oh, okay.
I jumped over to Facebook real quick and then I didn't hear you. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is 7 for me. Totally agree. My only note on this one was, although I prefer the studio version, I do like the ending on this rather than the fade out.
Trying to think. What this is just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, they go back and they do the guitar solo again, which isn't on the album.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a little bit of a thing at the end, and they go nuts for a little bit.
Yeah. Again, as if I didn't just listen to this like an hour ago.
You're right.
Next up is Making Love. And this is number 3 for me. And not only do I feel like this is a great back-to-back combo of Ladies' Room and then Making Love, this version of Making Love it's heavy, man. To me, it's, I've always loved this version compared to the album, and just that, Peter's just going, just it's pretty straightforward beat, but on that hi-hat, he's just beating the hell out of it, and it's just got such a heavy vibe to it, and I love the way they do the ending on here. The ending on the album's cool with with a little added effect on the drums and stuff, but something about this I like better. Plus there's that little weird, oddly timed ending thing that they do at the very end. It's very, very cool, a little bit tricky in a way. But yeah, just love this version. This version smokes. This is one of the tracks that, if I feel like playing something off of Live 2, I usually go to this track almost more than any of the other tracks, to be honest.
That in any way you want it, of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, any way you want it. I play the 12-inch remix disco version
Yes. Yes.
with the orchestra.
Naturally. Naturally. Man, Alive 4 was a killer.
Yeah,
Killer.
what a great
Kissing
encore,
Time.
Kissing Time, and any way you want it. That would, and then she kissed me. That would have been the perfect encore for all Kiss shows.
Right. And then whoever's idea it was to bring Peter back specifically so that he could perform his entire solo album. Genius.
And then
Genius.
his drum solo is just him doing "I Finally Found My Way."
Oh, this is the sarcastic episode, folks.
Gene should have spit fire before "Any Way You Want It."
You really should have.
Or blood.
That would be after.
Yeah.
And that time he didn't mean to. It just happened. So, Megan Love is number 8 for me. I'm pretty much in the same boat with Ladies Room on this one for me. I like it. I prefer the album version, I think, but the ending is just spectacular. Any ending is better than a fade out, I think, but this one is especially cool.
Absolutely. Then that brings us to Love Gun. This one comes in at number 8 this time for me. Again, I mean, this isn't too horribly different from the album version. I feel like it's just as strong and good, if not, Paul maybe even sounds better on this than he does on the album version. He's just really belting out them lyrics there, and again, when Ace does that solo, I think it stands out a bit better on here as well. Just the backup vocals, stand out a little better on here too. Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, and back at this time, I think the most that they did with Paul was just raise him up in that cherry picker on stage. So, now, that was a visual then, but now you look at what they do, and when they do this song, it just kind of makes the song that much more special now. But this was definitely a good performance of it.
Yeah, definitely. Number 5 for me this time. Again, we're getting those Paul on the lead and background vocals, which is just funny. But as I mentioned last week when we did the actual Love Gun album, this one really benefits from having a guitar solo. What on the album, it's literally just that run, and then they go right back into the chorus. On this version, there's an actual guitar solo, and I really feel like that should have been on the album version. So I really appreciate the live version.
Yeah, because on the album, kind of like with King of the Nighttime World, it's just the solo's kind of buried. You really have to like strain your ear to hear it, but it's like barely there. So that ends side 1 for us. So looks like right now we're getting some rock and roll pneumonia. So it's time to call out the doctor. We get Dr. Love here. This one's number 9. I hate to sound repetitive, but again, I felt like this is a pretty straightforward version. Good run through. Gene sounds, those nice growly demon vocals on this track, and looks like you had the doctor come visit yourself, huh?
I did, yes. I clearly have COVID.
Dr. COVID.
You said 9, right?
9, yeah.
Yes, I was trying to unwrap my 5-year-old throat lozenge.
Number 9.
Yes. Number 6 for me on this one. Similar to Detroit Rock City, I like what Gene is doing with vocals. Same as what Paul did with Detroit. I like how he's adding some different things to what was on Rock and Roll Over, but he's not going overboard, changing melodies and adding bits like he does now, which it's not bad. I don't hate what they do with it now, but I appreciate this happy medium again.
Definitely. And of course, I forgot the end. I love the I'm the doctor of yeah.
Yes.
The big phlegm
How Jewish.
solo. Next up, Christine 16, number 14. Christine 14 for me. I've said it a few times now. I just do not like the way this song translates live. It'll never come close to the album version. I just said it last week when we did Love Gun, but how much I love the album version of Christine. It just has that special something to it that makes you feel good. And as much as they try this, it just, as many times as they've performed this song through the years, I've never heard a live version that comes anywhere close where I'm like, oh, you know what, that one ain't too bad. But this is one that I'd almost rather they would have just cut this song off the album in place of one of the other ones or something. But I see why it was on there. Love Gun was hot at the time, plus singing to the chicks and all that. So
Right. Yeah, 13 for me on this one too. And I don't specifically dislike anything about this other than the solo. This is such a good harmony solo on the album, and it just isn't the same without that harmony part.
Yeah.
Ace has got that octave effect on, so he can play it high and it plays whatever he plays but low. But it's just not quite the same with the harmony part, or without the harmony part, I mean. And it feels like it's missing that.
Totally agree there. So then we move into Shock Me, which of course was the big surprise at the time. Ace finally doing some live vocals here. Number 2 for me this time. Again, I mean, I think we praised the hell out of this last time we did the album. It just kind of speaks for itself. I mean, it's such a, to me, Alive is great, but to me, this solo on here is more iconic. It's more memorable to me. I could pretty much hum the solo as I'm listening to it. It's just, I love the sound of it. And, it's just a great version. And, again, Peter with the drumming on there, he might not be doing every syncopated thing he did on the album version, but he's still doing some cool stuff in there. And, I just love the little, I guess, interlude you would call it before it goes into the solo part that they came up with. That was a cool ad. And, and definitely became kind of another signature piece in the live shows, that piece of music there. And just, to me, this is kind of, since we talked about Eddie Van Halen, this is kind of Ace's eruption per se. To me, it's like this is kind of that quintessential Ace solo and sound, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. Number 3 for me. Great live version of this song. As always, the guitar solo in the actual song really just makes a song for me. I think I said it last week. This is one of my favorite Ace solos, if not my favorite Ace solo. And then, of course, you can't talk about that without talking about the solo afterward, of course. Classic. And I'm glad they left the solo. Unlike with Alive, it was so short. They cut out so much of what he did. We know based on just Pathology 1 how much more he did, and I really enjoyed that stuff, and it was disappointing it wasn't there. So I'm glad they actually left everything in this one.
Yeah.
So we could really get the full effect of it.
Yeah, Javier just said he wishes the guitar and drum solos would have been full length on Alive too, like they were on Alive. Yeah, I mean, even on Alive for that matter, if you go back and watch, like the shows, they definitely still cut some things out of their solos on both of those. But which we're getting to on this album, but Peter's especially is just way more cut down on this than it was on Alive. Let's see. So next up is Hard Luck Woman, number 11. One of the things that the fact that this was just recorded during rehearsal or sound check is a big negative for me, and I don't like how it translates without, you know, the actual acoustic guitars. I don't know. We've talked about this before. Like, why did they ever not just pull out some acoustics on stage for certain parts of songs and, you know, play them? And this would have been a great example, especially had they had really performed this during the show. I would have liked to seen them actually perform this song live in shows, but for some reason they never did, and it was always Hooligan as far as, you know, this era. But yeah, it's, you know, I like the song, but yeah, when it comes down to it, I just don't like that it wasn't actually live and there's no acoustic guitar. I think that's the big thing that irks me about this version.
Yeah. 12 for me on this one too. Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see it on here at all. I know this wasn't an actual set list or anything, but I feel like if they were trying to simulate a theoretical Kiss performance, this one and Beth shouldn't both be on there, I think. Hooligan makes more sense from like a rock and roll standpoint. If you're going to bring it down for Beth or Hard Luck Woman, and don't do it again, especially so close together. You know, that was a little bit weird. I don't absolutely hate this version, but yeah, the almost clean guitars with light gain definitely do not have the same effect as the acoustics.
Absolutely. It almost sounds like a country bar band playing the music or something in a way, you know.
Right.
It's like where's the guy sitting there on the steel slide? And next up is Tomorrow and Tonight. Again, sticking with that category of crap that wasn't really performed live, but this is Bottom of the Barrel, number 15. You know, this definitely reflects, you know, when we talked about it on Love Gun last week. It's just one of them songs that I've kind of become bored with, you know, and this version's really no different. I kind of see why they put it on here. They were probably trying to get that one last little, you know, lightning in a bottle moment. You know, maybe this can break out as another type of an anthem, you know, with this live version. But, you know, maybe if they really did it live in front of a crowd, it could have had a better chance. You know, maybe if the crowd did go crazy like they try to make it sound like they did, you know, maybe that would have had a different effect. But you can't just kind of force it on there and put that fake crowd noise as if they're going bonkers over this song over every song on the set. Right. So yeah, this one just doesn't do it.
11 for me on this one, and while it is still pretty low, the only thing that kind of popped it up the list is I just always forget that this is another really cool Ace solo. I enjoy that, and I don't know why. I don't recall that I said anything about that last week, even though he plays the same solo he does on the album here. But for some reason, that just sort of caught me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this solo is cool."
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it that much credit. Yeah, I always had to find something good. Like I said, there isn't anything that I literally hate in the Kiss catalog, but you know, I try to find some good in every song. Sometimes it's a little harder than others, but
yeah.
So moving into I Stole Your Love, and we all know this was the song that really would have opened the show. This one's number one again. It was on Love Gun, and it is for Alive 2 this time. And I love how it translates live. I picture, you know, when I hear this live version, especially, you can't help but picture them coming down on those cherry pickers like they did on the live stage. And, you know, of course, again, you kind of get that phantom, you know, mental picture of when they were doing that, because, you know, same tour essentially. But such a great song, man. And just so much energy in this performance of it. And, you know, it's, you know, this is definitely, I mean, and again, it's weird to say things like this because it's like I've always loved this song, but it's really starting to get like literally up to that point of almost becoming my favorite Kiss song, period. Which is weird to say, but because I'm not even sure if I really had one that I could pinpoint as the favorite Kiss song, but I don't know. It's kind of leaning towards this at the moment. I'd have to say it's fun as hell to play too. I don't want to forget that. When we used to play it and stuff like that. I mean, it's fun to play on top of that, but listening to Kiss do it the way it's done, yeah, it's knocks it out the park.
Absolutely. Almost as good as Read My Body. Almost. Doesn't quite hit that, if I'm being honest. I mean, Read My Body has a lot more cowbells, a lot more different pitched cowbells, and that will always put it above this song.
Pitch cowbells. That's why that song should open every show from now on.
Exactly.
You wanted the best, you got the best, the hottest band in the world, Kiss, and then the first thing you hear is these pitched cowbells.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
and then the risers are coming down on her just like giant cowbells.
Yes, this one came in number 4 for me this time. Yeah, I always like this song. It's just one of the best show openers. I'm always reminded of the Hot in the Shade tour. The Kissology 2 concert is one of my favorite live concerts of
theirs. Oh Lord, the super fast, weird sounding snare drum version.
Oh, good Lord, yes. But yeah, it's weird that it's this far down. Not only did it not open the CD like it opened the show, but it's like really far down the set.
Yeah.
But also, it's really neat to hear that just like on the album, Paul actually plays the beginning of this guitar solo. Again, going back to that Kissology DVD, the Hot in the Shade concert, he doesn't. Bruce plays the whole thing. But here, Paul actually plays the beginning of it just like he did on Love Gun. So, really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like the song, it opens up the final side, the live side, all the way down there. It's like, definitely should have been up there. Mm-hmm. Which I want to say, I want to say even on the Lost Alive too, it still opens with Detroit Rock City. I'd like to hear someone edit it and make it where I Stole Your Love opens.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. So we go from that to Beth, number 13 for me. Just, I don't feel like it's the best performance Peter ever did of this song, and why put it on the album. I mean, obviously the only reason they did is because it was such a hit. So of course you got to put the live version, and all the girls loved it, and that's really it. That's the only reason I see why it's on this album, and just not much to it. Just Peter just kind of stumbling his way through it, I guess. Kind of like when I sing it. Lost you.
Got nothing. Hello?
Hey, there you are.
Okay, yeah, I just got to yell hello a bunch.
Does that thing have like a rest setting or something?
Not that I'm aware of. I've never had that problem before. Yeah, it's just a live version of a song that wasn't really built for a live performance without an orchestra, I mean, I guess at least the CD didn't skip a bunch, am I right? But the vocals are just far better on the studio version. But it's live. He was paying attention to the audience. Who could really blame him? I guess.
Was it live or was it Memorex?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
What were they using back then? Like a freaking reel-to-reel player or something?
I mean, you got to wonder. They definitely didn't have a CD player, so who knows?
It's like, is that what we're going to start hauling a reel to reel player with us and run the tape through the whole entire venue? And
That'd be classic.
God of Thunder, number 5 here. I do like what they were going with the idea of ending Beth, this pretty ballad, and then it all of a sudden it goes into the demonic, bass. You hear that bass ringing out, and I kind of get what they were trying to do there, and it kind of works for this, for this version of the album. And again, they never did it that way live, but definitely a version that I tend to go towards more than the album version anymore. I love the energy of this, and to me, it sounds it is the same version they used at the end of Phantom for the credits there. So that's another reason this version sticks with me. And again, the drum solo, like we said, I mean, it's just so stripped down. There ain't much to it. It definitely doesn't go as long as Ace's solo did. I'm pretty positive of that. And he did so much more, on the actual shows if you watch. And I always felt like they flip-flopped it, because on a live one, I felt like Ace's solo was kind of short, and then Peter had a long one. Well, now on this one, I feel like they flip-flopped them, and Peter's just got completely cut up. And so, yeah, I would have kind of been fine if they just left out the drum solo somehow, because it's kind of not much anyway. That it's like I personally wouldn't have been proud of it. It's like I'd rather just not have it in there than what is on there. I mean, but regardless of that, I mean, it's still a great version of the song. Like I said, Gene's on fire. Just the vocals, he's got that full power behind it, and the music sounds just heavier and meaner, and so just a great version. Perfect.
Number 9 for me on this one. And if I know we talked about this last time we did Destroyer, the time before we did Destroyer. I've always kind of felt like the studio version lacks heaviness that it really should have.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a song built for that. And this version fixes some of that stuff that I don't care for in the studio version. This makes up for, but what really kills it for me is that it's just way too fast. It almost sounds like Paul's demo version, and that to me takes away from the heaviness. And so, yeah, I wish that they had this exact sound, the heavy guitars, the delivery, the way Peter played the drum parts, but slow it, maybe not all the way to the studio version speed, but slow it a little.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was too rushed.
All right. I Want You, second from the bottom, which obviously wouldn't have been there either. Number 7. Really, the main thing about this version, of course, is the the kind of call and response part that Paul does on here with the crowd. That's obviously the biggest difference from the album version on here. And I like the way they pull it off. I like the solo part, and then when it breaks down, where they just suddenly stop and bam, and then Paul starts doing his call and response thing, and very cool. The only thing about it is I just wish I feel like this song should have been way earlier in the album than where it's at. I mean, it's good, but to me, it's not next to last as far as the power of it. And even though this is still a fictional set list of where it's at, it still just doesn't feel right. And knowing that it should be much earlier in the set would have definitely made it feel better. And maybe replace where this is at, maybe put Making Love there instead or something like that. But I will give them the kudos. Good job on this version.
Number 10 for me on this one. I do really like this song and I like this version, but just me personally, I could totally go without the vocal gymnastics at the end. I get it. It's Paul's solo. Everybody else had their little thing. Paul's thing was his vocals, but it just it gets a bit on my nerves and it doesn't catch me the same way.
I think we lost you again.
Still nothing, huh?
There you are.
No, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree because really, if you think about it, Paul had at least two solos during the show because with love, I mean, although we don't hear it on Love Gun, they were like raising him up on the thing, and so that was kind of his somewhat of a solo moment, if you want to call it that, and then of
Right.
course during the actual show, they were doing Black Diamond, so then he had his little spot before that. So really, you can almost say like three little spotlight uh, areas for Paul during back then. So
Right. But
all
yeah,
right,
it's it similar feel to me as I Still Love You from MTV Unplugged.
yeah, that's a good point. Well, wrapping up the album here, which again wouldn't have happened, but we have shouted out loud. Number 12. Again, it's good. Don't get me wrong, but it just does not translate well live. Again, I'm not a big fan of how the song sounds live. I'm never too big of a fan of playing the song myself. It just always never feels or sounds right. As the way the album version sounds. And again, to supposedly close out the show with this song, maybe would have worked to an extent at one time or another, but not in this case. And it doesn't have that same ending power as what a Rock and Roll All Night or something has. Where people can sing along and you get that moment to unleash the confetti or anything like that. So again, I could see what they were trying to do, making this, maybe potentially become a bigger hit than it already was, and another big anthem and party song. But just for me, it never. Sometimes I like almost forget that this song is coming up. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's shouted out loud, and I don't like this version, but yeah, but the album version, yeah, I love it. So definitely, again, would have ended the album differently as far as this live stuff, but it is what it is, and not the best translation.
Yeah. I could totally go for using it the way Sweet Pain did. We used to, where it closes like the show proper, but then the encore happens after that. Like
Right.
that feels okay.
Hmm.
But yeah, just ending the whole thing, yeah. And this one feels like it should have had an encore. The We Want Kiss, just
Yeah.
like you were talking about at the beginning. It feels like there should be more. We Want Kiss, here's more Kiss. And
Yeah. To be honest, that's
it
like
just
the most epic part of that song to me, and it's kind of, I don't mean to sound, like a dick saying that, but that "We Want Kiss" thing at the end kind of gives me goosebumps more than that actual song. I mean,
yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's 14 for me on this one, and yeah, it's I couldn't agree more. The studio version just gets the point across better. Now, having said that, I feel like this one was built for live performance because it's kind of talking about an audience member. You know what I mean? Like it would be dumb not to perform it,
mhm.
but yeah, this version just not. Yeah, I don't feel like it's a very good representation of the song.
Yeah, I mean that's why they still perform it to this day. Um, but yeah, it's when you're out there in the crowd and you're singing along. Yeah, that's a different story. It's cool,
Right.
but when it comes down to it, yeah, it's just um, Godzilla movie speech for a moment there. I'm not
my
sure.
my I assume my audio probably sped like super way up because my internet connection
Oh,
sucks so bad. You know.
but I forgot. I was gonna say something else, but whatever. All right, so that brings us to the end of the album. Um, unless you have another confession, mine's already been taken up because Javier brought it up earlier about the songs.
Oh yes, I do. That's part of my confession, but it's not the whole thing.
All right, well, give me some true nose wiping.
Oh yeah, you know it. It's the best. It's the most COVIDy thing. Um, so I recognize this is probably getting old by now, but I'm Luke Simon Neely, and I'm here once again to bring you a PSA concerning the most loved early Kiss album's questionable production, in my opinion. We talked about this last time we did a live too. Was it good for the age it came out? Yeah, sure it was. Yep, totally. Nothing on here is even close to so bad it shouldn't be listened to. Could they have done better? Yeah, I think so. In fact, like the real point of my confession here is that I think Alive 1 sounds better sonically than Alive 2.
Okay, I can agree to an extent. I'm back and forth. Like, there's definitely things about both that I like better than others, and vice versa. Um, I mean, I'll get into this more with the rankings here, but so speaking of overall ranking, I give it this an 8.5, and so really, I mean, this was probably the first live album that I really heard, as a kid. I just remember this, and I feel like I have much more of a connection to this album than I do a live one. As great as that is, I still love it. I mean, hell, I gave that one a 10 last time we did it. But this one's always been special to me. I mean, everything from the front cover, those pictures, especially the blown up ones on the back, those pictures of them, the way that, to me, they all look so perfect in those shots, and the color of them, and talked about the gatefold, that right there. But I always remember, like, even when I was little, like, one of my aunts that lived in Texas, and we were down there visiting, and they had the album, and I remember she made a copy of it for me on cassette, and I'd always listen to that, and so it was one of them that I felt like I was always kind of involved with and listen to that. Like, I would almost tend to listen to the live stuff more than I would the studio albums for a period of time when I was younger, like that. And so I think that's a lot of it. And again, there's those Phantom of the Park connections that I can make with that same time frame, and even some of the actual music being heard in that movie. And so I think a lot of it comes down to that kind of stuff, is that nostalgia factor, and the connection, especially from the childhood days. And I don't remember at what point that I was introduced or found the first Alive and started kind of listening to that. I don't really remember, but I just, like I said, I always remember Alive 2 kind of being more involved in my life for a period of time. So, and again, just like everything Kiss, it's like a fine wine. Every time I hear it, it's just as good, if not better. And I can still get goosebumps from certain points of it, and still do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the nostalgia is such a huge thing for a lot of people, and I think that's I kind of come into question with that with my own opinions because I don't have that.
Mm-hmm. I just lost you again.
Dang it.
There,
Hello.
there you are.
Okay. Not necessarily enjoying live stuff in the first place. On top of the fact that I have no more or less nostalgia for a Live 2 than I have for a Live 3. You know what I mean?
Right.
So naturally, my own personal music, what I like is gonna draw me more towards a Live 3 than it would towards a Live 2 anyway. Um, I give this one a 6 out of 10. It's the same thing I did last year or however long ago it was when we did this. And it's essentially it's low because of that. I think I don't have the nostalgia factor, and the production is not really like for me personally what I like. And honestly, I'm not really that on board with the idea of a live album with some studio tracks. It just doesn't quite make sense to me. So, making the live albums like a regular thing, great idea. Calling them the same thing and numbering them, I think, way more effective than just calling them all something different. It builds that anticipation. When's the next one? When's the next Alive? What's it going to be? Um, and not including any repeated songs from the first Alive makes sense. But I think I still would have rather gone for that, even if it meant repeating songs, than have the studio tracks on this. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have had those studio tracks at all,
Mm-hmm.
but just putting them on the live album just doesn't sit to me. You know what I mean? Plus, we start to see the cracks forming in those new studio songs. Are they bad? No, but they aren't really that memorable either. Larger than life, whatever.
Yeah.
Not a bad song, not the best. Um, but all in all, I don't want to make it completely negative. It isn't. All in all, I think this was a great batch of songs performed extremely well. And I'm glad we got one more truly original Kiss album, even if it took it being live for it to really just be the four of them without any
Mm-hmm.
outside influence. Um, before they started growing apart, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I would have liked more live tracks, even though I don't specifically like live albums. If you're gonna do it, commit to it. And and then my last note is, where is Take Me? Where's Take Me? Why did they not put Take Me on this?
Mm-hmm. That's one thing, especially nowadays, that I think makes bootlegs so special and collectible is we get to hear what the actual show was. We get all those songs that they were performing from the first three albums and whatnot, and it kind of makes it special because it's like this is really what that show would have been like to be there, in person. And then this whole like nostalgia, it's kind of weird for our generation because all this stuff that we grew up on, it's like time went by so quick that to us it kind of still feels like it literally was maybe 10 years ago is all it feels like. But when you really look back on it, it's like I guess it really is considered nostalgia now, and that's the weird parallel now with everything that from our generation. And
Right.
it's just so crazy. I mean,
It's such a weird gap to think that, like for example, my dad has nostalgia for Double Platinum that I have for Sonic Boom because of the age difference. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's so weird.
absolutely. And I've heard people, well, I can't stand the animalized, uncensored video. Oh, it just sounds so. And I'm like, dude, that's basically my first time seeing Kiss, like, in person, like on video, performing. I'm like, that was kind of my introduction, video wise, so it's special to me. I got the Mike Pence fly visiting me today. Uh, Javier asked, do either of us have the Robert Ludwig Mastering Alive? Actually, I do. Didn't even realize I had it, but heard some talk about it one day, and I just happened to look at mine, and turns out it is. Um, Definitely a much better pressing. It's has a lot more low end than some of the other masterings of it. Javier also said would have loved it if Alive 3 would have been made of just the solo album songs. Wow, that would have been. I wish Alive 3 would have been the Eric Carr. And okay, I see like the Vinny era, but Eric Carr and Bruce, that should have been Alive 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alive 4, do the one they did with Eric and Bruce, Eric Singer and Bruce, and so on and so forth. But to not have had, what's that?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, to not have an official live album with Eric on it, to me, is just criminal. I mean, yeah, there's all these bootlegs out there and shows like that, but an official live recording with him on it, put out by Kiss, it's just kind of criminal that there isn't one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say it would have been really interesting to have if they had continued their 3 studio albums and a live album thing.
Yeah.
You know, longer. Now, given that would have given us Alive 3 being Dynasty Unmasked and The Elder, and, you know, that may have been a little questionable, but, you know,
or
would have been interesting nonetheless.
And mix those in with the solo album stuff. Definitely would have been a weird live album, but, you know, for us fans, we probably would have loved it.
Oh, totally.
And like those five extra studio tracks on Alive 2. Like, I remember as a dumb little kid, like, I could swear that when I was little, when that side would come on, that I could still hear like crowd noise underneath it. So I would always make up this thing in my head, like, oh, they probably played all these songs over the, you know, PA while people were leaving. Like, here's, you know, some, you know, just dumb little logic that I had back when I was little. But
yeah.
Well, do we have the final tallies ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So let's do a real quick go through here. So, of course, we've got ours, the 2 that you guys all just saw. We've also counted in Steve McGowan's votes from this year. He gave this a 7 out of 10 overall, and his top 3 were God of Thunder, Shock Me, and Detroit Rock City. We're also counting Rochelle McGowan. She gave this album a 9 out of 10.
No, we're not.
Her top 3... yeah, totally discounting. Her top 3 were Calling Dr. Love, Love Gun, and
Get ready
Hard
for this,
Luck Woman.
Yeah.
Hard Luck Woman as her number 1. We've also got votes from the 2 of us from last year's, or last time we did this, whenever that was. I gave this a 6 out of 10, and my top 3 were Love Gun, Shock Me, and I Stole Your Love. We've also got Eli's from last time. He gave this a 9 out of 10. His top 3 were God of Thunder, Detroit Rock City, and Shock Me. My dad's from last year. He gave this a 9.5 out of 10, and his top 3 were I Want You, Detroit Rock City, and Shock Me. Steve McGowan's from last time. He gave this a 9 out of 10, and his top 3 were God of Thunder, Shock Me, and Detroit Rock City. We've also got votes from RJ Jordan from last time we did this. He gave this a perfect 10 out of 10, and his top 3 were Shout It Loud, I Want You, and God of Thunder. We've got a 9 out of 10 overall rating from Robbie Stars. We've also got votes from Aaron Philpott from last year. He didn't give us an average overall, but he gave us top 3, which were Making Love, Ladies Room, and Shock Me. Jay Rucker's dad gave this an 8.5 out of 10, and Jacob Hicks also gave this an 8.5 out of 10. Put all of that together, and we've got our final rankings for this week's episode. This album ended up with an average overall rating of 8.3 out of 10. Very respectable. Puts it slightly above Destroyer. Still not even close to Alive 1. Actually, it's one of the lower ranked ones we've done at 8.3, with only Hotter Than Hell and Dressed to Kill coming in below it. In last place for this week, keeping in mind, of course, that we've skipped the studio tracks. Those are coming later. So 15th place is last place this time. Eli will be very happy to know that it is Christine 16 very solidly. In 14th place is Beth. 13th place, Tomorrow and Tonight.
Good.
In 12th place, Ladies Room. In 11th place, Hard Luck Woman. In 10th place, Shout It Out Loud. In 9th place, Making Love. 8th place, Calling Dr. Love. Surprised to see that so far down.
Yeah.
In 7th place, King of the Nighttime World. In 6th place, I Want You. In 5th place, Love Gun. And our top 4 for Alive 2 this time around, we've got I Stole Your Love in 4th place. In 3rd place, God of Thunder. In 2nd place, Detroit Rock City, making Shock Me our winner in 1st place, and quite a lead, I should say. I don't foresee that getting knocked off even if we get some retroactive votes.
Nice. Mike, 100,000 watts. What's up, man? Last minute. Javier said, what if those studio songs on side 4 would have been live? That would have been cool. Yes, it would have. That's one thing Kiss has never done is like, here's a new song we've wrote. You know, they always waited till the album was already out to play them.
Yeah.
That would have been cool, yeah.
Right.
Hell, it would have been cool
At least
to
would
hear
have
them
made
do
more
a live
sense.
period.
Yeah, God, yeah. Especially like All American Man and Rocket Ride. I mean, I know Ace did Rocket Ride later, but like those two specifically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like right around this actual time frame. Like if they had really performed them, you know, that especially on this tour, or, you know, even like Dynasty tour or something.
Yeah.
So what is coming up next?
So we're starting the solo albums, of course. We changed up the order that, so we're not doing them in the same order we did last time around. We are going to Peter Criss next.
All right, so getting into that solo album period there. So again, just in case anyone is wondering, with Alive 2, we did not include the studio tracks on side 4. We are saving those for a later date, where we're putting those with other, you know, bonus tracks or whatever you want to call it, into one, you know, fantasy album at the end. So just in case anyone's wondering there. So yeah, next week we get into that solo album era, starting with Peter Criss. It's a good one. Not as bad as people like to say. You know, we thought the same thing last time we did it, and was a little surprised. But
we did a lot of positive talking about it last time.
Yeah, absolutely. So give it a listen. If you've never listened to it all the way through, give it a shot, and let us know your rankings and thoughts on that. We're gonna wrap this thing up, and you know, Mike, sorry you came in right at the last minute, man, but thanks for popping in. We can't wait to you know, come on your guys' show here pretty soon. I think next weekend I think we're scheduled to. So we're excited to come back on the Kiss and Tail podcast. So we'll see you guys for that. Javier, as always, thanks for stopping in, brother. Robert Enix, if you're still here, thanks for popping in. And
yeah.
All right. So again, rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. Everybody keep spinning that Van Halen music. You know, Eddie will live forever. And we're gonna wrap it up here, and we'll see you next week for the Peter Criss album. All right.